Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, football fans of all ages. This is Tim May along with
Bill Rabinowitz.
And we're here with our weekly podcast, Bill. Ohio State coming off the Hawaii game. It was kind of low waves in that game, not a big surfs up kind of game for the Ohio State offense. But somehow or another, they managed to make a 38-0 win out of all of that, which, I wrote about earlier this week, and Urban Meyer was talking about, it says something about your program when you win 38-0 and there are questions.
Yeah, and obviously it's centered on the offense, which had scored 17 points through three quarters, got the 21 points in the fourth quarter, and obviously one was on defense. So it was not an impressive performance. I think the longest play from snap was 24 yards. Not what you expect from an Ohio State offense, especially when they get three guys back, and Jalen Marshall and Dontre Wilson and Corey Smith back. You think, okay, they got everybody. It's going to be just crazy, and it wasn't. So they've got a lot to work on this week.
Yeah, Hawaii did a great job coming off the edges and basically not letting Ohio State establish its, for want of another word, its perimeter edge game, in my opinion. And they even caught Braxton Miller a couple of times when he tried to reverse field instead of maybe just doing a little cut slant counter move. He tried to come backwards, and they were right there. They were extremely disciplined. They were bound and determined they weren't going to get beat by that no matter what. And then I thought Ohio State was really slow to come around to like, hey, just line up and run straight at these guys. And Taylor Decker alluded to that earlier when we were speaking with him, that they were talking about that on the sidelines, about just, push come to shove, skipper, and do some pushing and shoving. And that's what they did. He got Ezekiel Elliott going a little bit. He ends up with a 101-yard game, 3 touchdowns, and they move on. And like I said, it was 38-0. It's hard to complain, and yet, this is a little bit of a blueprint for other teams that want to play them, maybe on how to take away some of that perimeter stuff.
Yeah, it's just like last year with Virginia Tech with that Bear defense. Other teams try to duplicate that. We'll see what happens in Northern Illinois this week. We'll probably do some variation of that. But again, the short preparation week, it's easy to say, well, you don't want to make excuses, but that's a reason, not just an excuse. I mean,
yes.
They just didn't have the time to prepare. They have a routine. Football teams are very big on routine. You have Tuesday, you work on this, Wednesday, you work on this, Thursday, you work on this. Well, there was no Tuesday last week. It was just Wednesday and Thursday, and even then their bodies were tired. So you have to understand that there was a reason that they were as sluggish as they were. Don't take anything away from Hawaii, and certainly Ohio State was not. Taylor Decker used the word flat. They were flat in certain ways. But if it happens next week, then I think you got a problem. Until then, I don't think you should read too much into it.
Well, the other thing along that dynamic of really only having 4.5 days in between games and really only 3.5 days to prepare was they didn't open with Jacksonville State. They opened with Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
That was I'm smiling now about Jacksonville State, which almost beat Auburn, an FCS team, and that was an interesting shut-your-mouth kind of weekend for the Southeastern Conference.
Especially with Brett Bielema making his pronouncement last week about the Big Ten schedule, and then they go and play Toledo and lose to Toledo
at home.
A MAC school, which actually helps Ohio State another way, that if there was any thought that they would overlook Northern Illinois or Western Michigan next week, what happened with Toledo and some of the other performances around the country, that should not be an issue. I don't think it would have been anyway, but this reinforces that.
Yeah, I don't think they overlooked Hawaii. I mean, I think Hawaii came in with a really good plan on defense. Ohio State still managed to score 3 touchdowns with their offense against that plan, and or 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns with their offense against that plan, and then got a scoop and score from Von Bell to kind of cap it off as a great defensive performance. Bottom line is they just didn't have time to prepare for everything that they thought Hawaii might throw at them from a defensive standpoint. And then I think Hawaii added some things, like especially, like I said, taking away the perimeter, basically daring them to like line up and run right at them or throw the ball deep and or throw the ball over the top. And Ohio State was reluctant for whatever reasons to go to that from a consistent package. But moving past that, Northern Illinois has won 11 or more games in 5 straight seasons. They played in the Orange Bowl a couple of years ago with Jordan Lynch at quarterback. Jordan Lynch, if I remember correctly, finished 3rd in the Heisman Trophy race the year Braxton Miller finished 9th. I mean, this is a program that once it got its act back together under Jerry Kill way back in the late 2000s has really produced big-time offense. Defense, they're probably not on the same par even as Hawaii defensively, but they have an offense that, you know, if you sleep on them, you're going to have a long night.
Yeah, they struggled to beat Nevada, Las Vegas the first week. They struggled actually against Murray State last week, and then they ran away in the second half. A very potent offense. As you said, Tim, the defense is pretty shaky. But, you know, for the defense, for Ohio State's defense, I don't want to say it's a bigger test than Virginia Tech, but maybe it's a bigger test than Virginia Tech once Brewer left the game. I mean, this is a bona fide offense that they're going to be facing this week.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure they're going to put up points, but this Ohio State defense is playing with an elan. Is that the right word? What am I looking for?
That's a good word.
I mean, they're playing at a nice level right now. There's a confidence there, and you know, as talking to these players after the game on Saturday was really cool because Darren Lee and they were talking about how they enjoy being out there playing. You know, yeah. I mean, the bad thing about playing on defense at a place like Ohio State or some other places, you don't get a lot of plays a lot of times, and they enjoy the game as much as the offensive guys do. And you could see that by the way they were playing on Saturday. I mean, they were getting after those guys.
And you know, Joey Bosa was back this week, and he didn't have an official sack. He had the one that was negated by a penalty. The other thing that struck me was last year, Urban Meyer talked a lot about we need depth on the defensive line. I think you can see that developing now. Sam Hubbard looked very good. Jalen Holmes forced another fumble, I think it was, on Saturday. He looks good.
Yeah.
Other guys are starting to make contributions. You know that the defensive backs are solid now that Garyon Connolly is certainly risen to the occasion. Raekwon McMillan has risen to the occasion. The other guys are solid. They're veterans. So to have that defensive line now gather some depth, and which you need, especially as the season becomes much more of a grind, you can see the pieces are really in place for Ohio State's defense.
Yeah, no, but you know, you pointed out in our Inside the Beat, which you can get at, also read at dispatch.com, BuckeyeXtra.com. I mean, those guys in the defensive backfield, Von Bell, Tyvis Powell, Eli Apple, and Garyon Conley, they're playing with an obvious confidence about them. I mean, an obvious, almost, hey, throw it at me, I want to play, you know what I mean, type deal. And I think that bodes well for this defense because they've got some guys that really enjoy playing defense.
And maybe the key is Garyon Conley. I know that's somebody you're going to be writing about this week. And you know, last year against Michigan State, they had to play him. He started because Eli Apple was hurt, and he got beat twice on the first series. And they went to Apple, and you could tell that Conley's confidence was, I won't say was shot, but it certainly took a hit. This year, he looks like a completely different player. I mean, he just plays with confidence now, and you have to. It's such a position where you know you're going to be attacked, you know you're exposed. If you get beat, there's no hiding. You have to play with that cockiness almost, and these guys do.
You know, Urban Meyer told us this week that he has a starting quarterback. It is Cardale Jones. That's obvious now to everyone. He started the first two games. JT Barrett is still in the mix. He's competing. Bottom line is he didn't feel like Cardale Jones got beat out in preseason camp, which means this guy didn't go above him. They played both of them on Saturday. It was really telling, though, when they went back to the third quarter, after JT Barrett had replaced Cardale in the second quarter, Urban Meyer went back to Cardale Jones. That was indicating to me that, yes, he does have this guy as his starting quarterback. I'm interested to see how this dynamic goes now. I mean, you know, you have a situation where a guy can have a slow start and you have this relief pitcher coming in off the bench, you know, but I think this is where it gets interesting. Let me put it that way.
No, I agree, because the one thing I think we both agree on is that if anyone can handle being a backup in this situation, it's JT Barrett. I mean, his maturity and poise, everyone talks about that kind of ad nauseum. But it's true. I mean, he can handle this. He has that maturity about him. I think this job is Cardale's for now. I do think that if he has another start like he had Saturday, I think Urban Meyer would do the same thing. And if JT takes over and they produce, which is not what happened on Saturday,
right,
JT stays in there. I think it's just competition. I think it's probably healthy. It's probably better to have a clear number one, but not so clear that it's his job kind of no matter what he does.
Right.
You know, and so I think but I think Urban Meyer understands that when you start going back and forth with quarterbacks, it usually does not end well.
Yeah, for most teams, but we'll see. I mean, I'm very interested to see how these guys show up. I'm interested to see Northern Illinois. Like I said, they play offense getting off the bus. They're going to come after him. They're going to throw the ball a lot. Drew Hare is a very nice quarterback, accurate passer. He's thrown no interceptions this year with 6 touchdown passes. I think he's completed over 70% of his passes. You know, no matter throwing it air, that's pretty impressive. And I'm looking to see how Ohio State handles this, coming off a 38-0 Lackluster shutout.
That's right.
We'll be back to talk about the Northern Illinois game. I look forward to the game with Western Michigan the next week. Both of these games have 3:30 starts. It's already been announced now. And Bill, I'm looking forward to watching yet another chapter in the what might be another book for you, the 2015 Ohio State football season. Until then, this will be Tim May
and Bill Rabinowitz. Thanks for watching.